Hey friends, today is National Mental Health Awareness Day, and it happens to coincide with my usual update for My Life with ADHD series. This week, I spent my time juggling Inktober, painting 7-inch Kara pages, and prepping for an upcoming show this weekend, Handmaiden Bound. When I'm trying to juggle this many things, I always feel like there's just not enough time, and that my window for opportunity is far too short. I know some of this comes from the fact that my brain has trouble measuring time increments correctly, and is doubled by the fact that I often misgauge how long tasks will take, and then tripled by the fact that those I love often put a lot of pressure on me to work faster. So today, I want to take a moment to breathe. If only for a second, even if I have a lot of work to accomplish after this break. And I'd like to encourage you guys to do the same thing. I know a lot of you struggle with depression, anxiety, and ADHD. That's why you watch this series. Those are things I struggle with myself. And for a week like this, let's say the opportunities for depression and anxiety are just always really close to the surface. And even if I do things that help mitigate those, like practice positive self-talk and take breaks, make sure I eat, get outside, get some fresh air, don't indulge in negative self-talk, make lists, and just try to be as prepared as possible. I'm one of those people who, at the end of the day, if I'm exhausted, my brain hits that depressive train of thought really fast. It gets nihilistic really fast. So, like I said, I have a show that I'm prepping for this weekend, and this year has not been a good year show-wise. There's been a few good shows, but I haven't really made the income I need to make. I haven't made the income I normally see. So it's really easy for my brain to want to start going back to that place of like, this isn't going to do anything. You're wasting your time. Not only are you wasting one day this year, but you're wasting 3 days this year. And I haven't done the show in this incarnation, so I have no idea how it's going to go. I don't know if I've over-prepared. I don't know if I've under-prepared. I don't know if anybody's going to want to buy anything I'm selling there this year. I don't know anything. And for me, that's always been really anxiety-inducing. I mean, fortunately, it's here in Nashville. I don't have to travel, but in a way that makes it harder because it means I can force myself to work and work hard until the very last minute. I can justify going home on Friday night and cranking out something. I can justify going home on Saturday night and cranking out something. So the opportunity to overwork and make myself really mentally sick is just right there at the surface. And then I'm also doing Inktober. And I do Inktober every year. I've done Inktober when I was traveling to San Francisco for APE. I've done Inktober when I was doing Handmaiden Bound, like I was inking at the table. So like me doing Inktober around shows is not a new thing. But this year, my Inktober illustrations, they're not as tight as I would like. So like I already have this like, they're not good enough thing going, which is not the point of Inktober. The point of Inktober is to do as many as you can. And I chose a style that, while loose, is different from my normal stuff. And also I can theoretically accomplish it. But it's going to be really hard to do that at Handmaiden Bound for 3 days outside. So that's another unknown. And like, I know myself, other people will be like, oh, you should just take a break. Like I can do that. Because my sick brain is going to be like, you're a lazy slob and you really don't want this comic thing, do you? So for that part of my brain, which I try not to indulge, and sometimes that means I don't talk about it because talking about it makes it come to the surface. But I'm talking about it with you guys because I know a lot of you struggle with it and I don't want you guys to feel alone. And I want to share what I've learned to help combat that, and that requires talking about it. I forgot kind of my train of thought with that, but it's just like if I did everything that part of my brain said, I still wouldn't have a comic career because like I've let that part of my brain guide my life. It's prevented me from sending things out to people because I just wasn't good enough and I would never be good enough. It's prevented me from talking to other artists because their art is so good. Clearly I'm just garbage and they wouldn't want to have anything to do with me. It's told me that all my years working on the blog and this channel and on how to be a con artist, well, obviously I'm just a garbage person because like all that work should have amounted to something, right? People should at least say hi to you, and that hasn't happened. So I have to try really hard to just like focus on what is actually going on and what is actually in my control and what I actually know. So like should not make presumptions about what other people are thinking. I should not make presumptions about how their actions reflect their feelings towards me unless they directly state it, and even then sometimes that's not what's actually going on. I should just try to give them, to the best of my ability and to the best of the situation, the benefit of the doubt. And I've also seen like a lot of, like, everyone's anxiety's gone through the roof the past 5 years, and it's understandable, but like we're all isolating ourselves in these sad little balls of anxiety. And I do this too, like I'm not judging anybody, but like we're all making ourselves sicker doing this. So I don't really have a lot of solutions for the anxiety. I self-medicate with caffeine, so like that doesn't help, right? So I've been trying to be smarter about how I consume my caffeine and when I consume my caffeine, and that's helped. And I've gotten really good about having a good sleep schedule and like having sleep routines, so that because I know a lot of other artists will talk about like missing a lot of sleep, like, and not because they're working, but because their anxiety is so bad. So I know melatonin doesn't work for everybody. It works for me, but I also have like an evening sleep schedule where like I brush my teeth and I take my melatonin and I take my collagen pills because those are good for your skin, but they're also good for your joints. And sometimes I'll put on like a face mask, or sometimes I'll put on like face cream, and then I'll watch something kind of low key on the TV, well, really just like YouTube, so not even TV, not like, nothing that's super stimulating. Like I can't watch Last Week Tonight, for example. I'm sure you guys know why. I can't watch that before I go to sleep. So I have been working on those aspects of my anxiety, and I'd also noticed something I call the witching hour, which is like if I'm working at 1 in the morning, I am going to have a depressive spell. I'm going to be up till 2, and I'm going to be really depressed and nihilistic. So like in general, I try to make sure I'm asleep before, like around 12:30, I try to make sure I'm asleep. And that's helped a lot. So last night I worked until 1:30, and I shouldn't have done that, but I slept until 1:30 today, which I probably shouldn't have done that either, but I was exhausted. I didn't even take melatonin last night. I was exhausted. I worked really hard yesterday, and I don't recommend the way I worked yesterday because I only took breaks to eat, and like I took like a 15-minute break just to like talk to my boyfriend, you know, like I didn't really take any good real breaks yesterday, and that's not healthy, and there wasn't really a good reason for me not to, because some of the stuff that I did, I could have carried over onto today. It's not that big a deal. Or some of the stuff I could have just nixed. I could have just been like, I'm not bringing that to Handmade Bound. I don't need it. Or I'll see if I need it on Friday and then make it that night. You know, that kind of thing. So I acknowledge that like my work pattern yesterday was not a good work pattern. So to an extent, I'm not super comfortable talking about my depression and my anxiety here in the My Life with ADHD series, because while I'd been diagnosed with both, I never sought clinical treatment for either, because when I had health insurance at the time, I was getting ready to go to grad school, and the doctor was basically like, okay, if we treat your depression, your anxiety is going to get worse for a while. If we treat your anxiety, your depression is going to get worse for a while. And I was like about to leave for Georgia. So I was like, I'll fix it when I'm finished, right? Like, that's so smart. And grad school, like, really, really destroyed me. And then moving to Nashville kind of finished killing me in a way. It's really sad to say, but it's true. Like, I'm certainly not the person I was at 22, which is fine. Like, people do grow, but I miss her because she was outgoing and vivacious, and she could talk to a lot of different people, and she did not have the self-doubts that I have now. And her life wasn't easy. Like, she'd been bullied all through school, and she'd had some really horrific boyfriends, and her parents weren't very good to her, but she'd gotten past that, and now I'd like to get back to that point. But I don't like talking about the anxiety and the depression because I never got help for either of those. I never got professional help for either of those, and I don't have friends that I can talk to about it because then they start spiraling out. So it's become a very private struggle. And I'd mentioned in an earlier video, I don't know if I shared that to the public. It was right after Anthony Bourdain died. I recorded a video talking about depression and suicidal ideation, and how those were things I've sporadically really struggled with, and how like just because people entertain you or tell you they're okay, you should care more than that. Like, you shouldn't just use people, because like Robin Williams also committed suicide, and like I hate hearing that, but they seem so okay. Like, it's their job for you not to know, and it's my job generally for you guys not to know, because you don't want to hear all the bitter and all the sad and all like the sick brain stuff. Especially those of you who are watching the My Life with ADHD stuff. You don't need to get sick from my sick. And to an extent, I think in the comics industry, we make each other really sick. It's like a cold. We catch each other's anxiety, we catch each other's nihilism, we catch each other's depression, and then we just get complacent, and it's like, oh well, this is life, and I, in general, when I'm healthy brained, when my brain is, and I don't mean not ADHD, I mean I'm not struggling with anxiety all the time, and I'm not struggling with depression all the time. I'm very high energy. I love coming up with ideas. I love coming up with solutions. And one of the things that makes me really sick is when people just nix everything I say. They don't play ball with me. They hate every idea I have, and it's in a group setting. And one of the things I did for myself this year is I took myself out of that. I said, I don't have to keep doing this anymore. They're not paying me. They don't respect what I'm bringing to the table. So I don't have to do that. I don't have to do this with them. If they ask me to come back, I don't have to come back. Not that they would, that never happens. But like, I don't have to waste my good ideas and my good energy on people who don't appreciate it. And that's something I recommend to you guys. If someone consistently like craps on everything you do, you don't have to give them that anymore. I mean, even if it's a teacher, like I had a teacher in undergrad who hated everything I did. He didn't think comics were art, yet he did shirts for Threadless. So like, how are comics not art, but t-shirts for Threadless art? I don't know, whatever. But like, he hated everything I did. There was nothing I could do that he would like. Nothing was high concept enough, and I don't want to be high concept. Like I said that from the beginning, that I'm not interested in doing high concept art. I want to make things that are egalitarian and understandable and enjoyable by the masses. I don't really care if I make like a $10,000 painting that speaks to only one person. That's not what I want to do. But he hated everything I did, and it got to the point where I quit trying to. I just would like, for his assignments, I would just make the stuff I knew he wanted based on what he said he liked from other people, and then I would make my own stuff. So like, I quit playing ball with him because there was no way I was ever going to get him to respect anything about what I wanted to do. He had no desire to understand any of my goals, so I just kind of played around that. So that's like a form of self-protection, and that might not be the healthiest form of self-protection, but you don't have to give yourself to people who don't care. That's like artists, webcomic artists who like, their reason for existing is their comment section, which I get it. If you're not getting paid to make your comics, you need some form of payment, and often that engagement is a form of payment, and I get that. But like, are you making your comic for your audience, or are you making your comic because it's the thing you really want to do? And both are okay, but you can't force your audience to care. You can't force your audience to talk to you. And as people, especially in like the arts communities, are becoming more and more anxious, they're not talking to people. They're not engaging one another because they're so afraid of getting shut down. So like, you've got these people who really want you to leave comments, but they don't comment on anyone else's stuff. They don't talk to anybody else. And all of their readers are having the same problems. So it's like, that's what I mean, like, we make each other sick. We are compounding this problem. So I don't care if I get comments. Like, I don't think I even have that as an option on my website. Because, like, if you want to tell me something, you can email me or you can tweet me, and that's cool. Like, that's fine. But, like, I don't need somebody commenting on every page I paint. And I will spend 16 plus hours painting every page, but I don't want that. Like, I want you to read the chapter and then talk to me. I want you to read the book and then talk to me. Don't take one page out of context. But whatever, like, what I need from my audience and what other comic artists need from their audiences can differ, and that's okay. But like, that's not something I want to beat myself up over. anymore. So, this is also kind of meandering because I didn't script it, and sometimes I script it, like I scripted the beginning and I scripted the ending. Sometimes I script My Life with ADHD, or I make like a bullet point list. And I have a terrible memory, as a lot of you with ADHD, well, terrible short-term memory. I can remember all this horrible garbage I don't want to remember, and I can remember like all the delicious foods I ate when I went to Japan, or I can remember all the main characters from Gundam Wing. I can remember dumb stuff that I don't need, and I have like an encyclopedic memory of art supplies, which no one but me cares about, and I can't have a conversation with most people because of it. But like important talking points, I need cue cards, and YouTube is not the land of cue cards, and I do not have the patience for multiple takes. So that's me. Like when I started doing YouTube stuff, I decided I was going to do it on my own terms. And I've tried to become progressively out about my mental illness. Well, I don't like calling it a mental. I mean, regarding the ADHD, I think depression is an illness. I think anxiety is an illness. But ADHD, that's something, my brain was made that way from my birth. So that's just part of who I am. And there's traits about it that I really like. And there's traits about it that I really, really hate. Like the inability to, like, my brain cannot keep track of time. And, that's a huge source of anxiety for me because I think being late is super rude. So, I'm always 30 minutes early, or I'm almost always 30 minutes early. I don't like making people wait on me, but I also don't like waiting on other people. So, and all my friends are ADHD, so they either fall into one of two categories. They're there 30 minutes early also, or they are super late, don't bother to text me, and it's like, oh, I'm just showering now. It's like, honey, you're already 30 minutes late. You should have showered like 2 hours ago. But, so I would love to do more of my life with ADHD. I kind of feel like where I am at right now, I don't have anything I want to say because I'm about to slide into winter, which is seasonal affective disorder for me, which means intense depression, and I don't like sharing my life when I'm like that because that's not the Becca I want people to know. And like I used to not care, and I used to be open about that, and a lot of people were really cruel in how they reacted to that and how I was treated. So that's not something I'm comfortable sharing anymore. As for the anxiety, my anxiety doesn't manifest in like a cute, oh, I'm so stressed out, I'm so worried, comfort me kind of way. It manifests in like, I'm mean and I want to be left alone, and I don't want you sending me cat pictures, and I just want to do my thing and focus, right? And nobody likes that either. At least my ADHD manifests in a somewhat cute way. Not that cute is like the end-all be-all, but I should say a socially acceptable way. A way that people can find likable. Because my depression and my anxiety sure do not. And I've been really working on trying to accept that as well, and journaling and practicing positive self-talk and accepting myself for who I am, because, you know, like when we break it down, we're all pretty good people. We're all working really hard. We're all really invested in this. We're all doing the best we can with the tools we have, with the brains we have, with the hands we have, with the money we have to spend on things, with the networks we may or may not have, with the connections we may or may not have. We're all doing the best we can. And like, some people can take a peanut and turn it into an empire. And some people can start from a good place and not be able to turn that into anything because they're just, it's just not for them. It's not fated for them. So I'm not saying that's like a good reason to give up. I mean, if you want to give up for that reason, that's fine. But don't think I'm saying give up, because I'm not. I'm just saying, like, I got to this point where I really, really hated my life. I hated everything about my life. I wanted to just be anybody else, like anyone else, a garbage man for a day, just anybody else. Actually, I hear being a garbage guy is kind of fun. But like anybody else, I wanted to be just for like a week, just to not be me. Like, I hated the name Becca Hilburn. I didn't want to hear my own name. It made me cringe really hard. Like, and I hadn't done anything to feel that way. Like, I hadn't done anything terrible. I just wasn't enough. And I just wanted to be someone who was enough. And I've been really just kind of working on trying to love who I am, where I'm at, and try to love what my life is right now, because it may not ever change. there may not ever be a better day. And I gotta love what I got because, okay, I lost my dad when I was 22, right? So, I'm sure when I was 21, I had days where I was miserable and I hated my life and I was really sad, blah, 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 right? But, like, I had my dad and I had my mom, and, like, I can remember, like, if my mom would say something really awful, my parents were divorced, I'd call my dad and, like, you know, sorry, he would, it was just someone else to talk to about it. And, like, you know, he used to bring me to lunch on Mondays, and, like, I lived in the dorm and the food was terrible. The food, you know, was just horrible food. And, like, that was right after Katrina, so our food options were limited, and there often wasn't just enough time to get lunch. And on Mondays, my dad would bring me to lunch, and we would bond. And, like, my dad and I were close when I was really little, but he was an alcoholic, so we weren't close for a really long time. So, like, I'm sure at 21, I had days where I was like, my life sucks, right? Because, like, anyway, so, like, after Dad died, right, like, you realize that even on those really bad days, you still had this person that you really loved in your life. And, like, the longer as I'm getting older, you know, I'm realizing that, like, I better appreciate what I have, because, like, my mom could go, or my brother could go, or Joseph could go, and then it really would be worse. And, like, there really would be this hole that never gets filled. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cry for you guys. Just talking about my dad always makes me kind of emotional. But, anyway, like, I better start trying to like the life I have now, because as I get older, I may have fewer of these people who I turn to without even thinking about it, you know? So, and also, like, I kind of got tired. I realized also that, like, comics was never going to love me the way I love it. So, it was kind of an impetus to, like, try to start having my own life. And there were things kind of outside of my control that kind of stalled my life, that I was waiting for those to kind of resolve. And some of them have. So, you know, I've always wanted to have a family. I always wanted to have kids. And I'm 32. Like, I'm not getting younger. Now, I've always been fine with adoption. So, that's probably the route. We've talked about it a lot. And that's probably the route we're going to take. So, like, I know a lot of people who just never have a family because comics is, like, their whole life. And they're so willing to trade all these other things they love for this industry that doesn't love them, or only loves them for, like, a week. So, I realized that I wanted to make comics, of course, and make kid stuff, of course, but, like, I was tired of trading all the other things I loved for that. I was tired of, like, never taking breaks and never going on vacation, or, like, all my vacations were spent tabling at cons working, or, like, just like treating myself like garbage to reach this goal where, like, even the people hiring don't know what they want sometimes. So, like, I realized I had to just make the stuff that meant something to me instead of trying to read their minds, and just try to be as authentic as I could be without, you know, beating myself up, because, like, I don't think I'll ever be what they're looking for. And I know that's, like, that sounds really nihilistic, but I think it's true. Like, I just want to tell really soft, sweet stories primarily for girls, but that boys can enjoy also. And there's a certain, like, 5 art styles that I really want to draw in. And who I am as a person is just not very saleable right now. So, I have to just accept that and live my own life and stop living for that. So I ended up talking about a lot of stuff I didn't at all intend to talk about. So I went way off script, so I'm going to go back on script. So artists, particularly freelance and self-employed artists, already juggle so much work and frequently do not or cannot seek mental and physical health help. We need to remember to be kind to ourselves, to be our own best friends, as others are all too quick to push their needs and their standards on us. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to work at your own pace. But it's not okay to beat yourself up when you slipped a little. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has accidents, and sometimes fate just flat out conspires against us. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. So please forgive yourself, forgive your brain, and forgive your body for those times it just couldn't help and then my screen dies. Forgive my computer for those times where it's like, you don't need me, I'm gonna go to sleep, and then I'm gonna take a really long time to come back up. Because, of course, that's how that happens. Forgive your body for those times it just couldn't help you meet your lofty goals, and remind yourself to take a break and congratulate yourself on your successes. And I don't mean exterior milestones. I don't mean 5K subscribers. I don't mean 10K readers on Tapas. I don't mean making enough money. You should congratulate yourself on those things, but that's not all you should congratulate yourself on. You should congratulate yourself for hitting your 100th page, regardless of what your numbers say, because 100 is a huge deal. You should congratulate yourself on your 1-year comic anniversary, because updating every week consistently is super hard, and a lot of artists can't do it. You should congratulate yourself for getting past this, like, I feel like a lot of artists have this, like, this end date, this end portion where they like decide to completely restart their whole comic, and then it becomes like a really bad addiction. So like some friends of mine have restarted their comic 5 times over. So if you can get past that point, you should congratulate yourself on that. That's like a really big deal. You've broken that train of thought. You are making progress forward. And that's what we got to focus on. So if you only did one Inktober thing, you should congratulate yourself for doing that thing. If you tried something new this year and you were terrible at it, you should congratulate yourself on trying that something new. You took a risk. If you tried a new show and you totally bombed at it, you should congratulate yourself for trying something new. You should congratulate yourselves for the things you can control as well as the things others decide for you. We're not all going to get a book deal, but we can all maybe self-publish a book. So we should congratulate ourselves on that the same way we would congratulate ourselves on the book deal. So I hope this was helpful, useful, inspiring for you guys. I don't know. I hope it meant something for you and it wasn't just fluff that you sat through because you love me and you want to make me happy. And because that's always my end goal, is to make things that reach out to other people. When I make comics, when I make blog posts, when I make tutorials, when I do reviews, when I do these vlogs, all of when I do shows, all of this is in service to making a connection with other people. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you will do something kind for yourself today. Treat yourself to something you really enjoy. Play a video game, read a book, go get something tasty to eat, spend some time with a pet you really love, go outside, enjoy the sun, go to sleep early, take a break, whatever it is that you reward yourself with, take time to do that because you really did earn it. There's so many times you don't reward yourself when you deserve a reward. You've earned it today. So bye guys.